All right, enough tiptoeing around. Let's get into the nitty-gritty of pricing your design services. Stick around. Hey kids, and welcome to Design by Wingnut Social. I am your host, Darla Jethro Powell. I am the great grand high poobah of all things here at Wingnut Social, a digital marketing agency for interior designers, architects, and to the trade home vendors. And here we are again with another episode of Designed by Wingnut Social. If you're listening to us on audio, great. But also we have a YouTube channel, Designed by Wingnut Social. You can see us in all of our glory, appointed as well. Our designers, you can see all of their work. You can see all our bloopers. You can sit on the sofa and you can just laugh at us, just point and laugh. And that is what we're going for. All right, kids, today's guests, Shelby and Kasey Van Daley of Daley Home out of Texas, are just cutting through and we're getting down to it. How the hell do you charge for your services as an interior designer? Some of you guys might think, you know what? I got this in the bag. I don't even need to listen to the show. Well, I would challenge you to listen to it anyway, because some of the things that you're doing, you might hear what Shelby and Kasey have to say about it, how they're doing it, and why they're successful. And you might change your mind about a couple of things. And if you're wearing pearls, be careful. You might break them. All right, guys, before I get into my conversation with Shelby and Kasey, you know the drill. Shelby and Kasey Van Daley are the dynamic wife and husband duo behind Daley Home, established in 2017. Shelby specializes in creating simple, classic, and thoughtful spaces, while Kasey brings a passion for systems and processes to streamline efficiencies. Together, they bring innovative ideas and out-of-the-box solutions, transforming homes into extraordinary spaces through design innovation. Wingnuts, help me in welcoming Shelby and Kasey Van Daley to the show. Hey there, Shelby and Kasey Van Daley. Welcome to the show. How the hell are you?
Doing great.
We're great, Darla. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
You're so welcome. I am doing really, really well. We were just talking in the green room, though. I had a veneer pop off on my front teeth. If you're watching Design by Wingnut Social on YouTube, you can see that one. So I'm still a little swollen from them numbing it and everything, popping it back on. You know what I did? I didn't tell my dentist this because I didn't want her to charge me. But I forgot I had them, and I was opening up something with my teeth, and it just went pop.
No. Yeah. Well, look at you working through it.
Yeah. My wife was like, oh, you All right, guys. So thank you so much for joining us. I told the audience, a little bit about where you are and where you're from. And I thought that today we would do a deep dive and have an organic conversation around pricing your interior design services, because I don't know about you, but I see it again and again, interior designers asking questions in the myriad of interior design groups on Facebook or what have you. I have this project. Should I charge flat rate? Should I charge by the foot? Should I charge hourly? How do they're so confused around doing this. And it really seems like you guys have your systems and processes in place, locked in. So are you game?
Absolutely. Yeah. We love talking about this topic in particular.
Okay, well, good. Then you've come to the right place. All right. So before we get in, of course, you guys are a married couple, and Shelby is Shelby, and then Kasey is Kasey. So just so we don't have any confusion when you guys speak. So, Shelby, say a few words so we know who Shelby is.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Shelby.
Kasey, say a few words so we know who Kasey is.
This is Kasey.
All righty, cool. So you guys should pretty much have that squared away. Okay. So let's start with Shelby. I'm going to ask you, how long have you guys been in business? I have here that you were established in 2017. Is that correct?
Oh, yep. We started in 2017, and then Kasey joined me full-time in 2020.
Joined you full-time as in got married, or in the business?
In the business. We've been married 16 years and business partners. Well, pretty much the whole time Daley Home has been around. It was our thing together to begin with. And then he was able to, as it grew, he was able to quit his full-time gig that he was doing as a CFO and join me full-time, which was really a dream, come true for us, was to have a business together.
How nice to have a built-in CFO like that, that you're married to with your best interests at heart. That's terrific.
Some days she loves it, some days she hates it. So
That's true. That's true. So you want to buy these things, and he's like, no,
it's not the budget. Yeah.
Yeah.
He speaks a different language than I do, which really makes it, to where we're such a good team. And it was such an easy way of transitioning our strengths into a business. And we kind of knew that from the start. It's been really fun to be able to rely on him and his strengths with spreadsheets and numbers, and mine to just stay in the creative lane that I like to be in.
So when you started Daley Home, how were you charging? Was this an organic kind of way that you learned by trial and error? Did you go in with a plan?
Yeah. So when we first started, we had great friends who really guided us, and we pretty much took what they were doing in their design firm and implemented it. But there was definitely a few mistakes along the way and some big differences. They were an established firm. We were just starting out. So right out of the gate, we decided to take kind of what they were doing and do that in our business, which was flat fee.
Okay.
And that was great. I think it's very approachable. It's a really easy way to start because you think, gosh, the client will only pay me one time. Everybody knows what to expect on the payment side of the process of a project. But there were some really tricky things that we learned with flat fee.
Yeah.
The biggest was that, when clients were coming back to us to do more rooms, how were we being compensated for that? And so probably about 3 years into doing that, I realized I'm kind of resenting these projects and these clients more than I should be. I should be happy that the scope creep is happening.
Yeah.
But the biggest problem was that I wasn't being compensated for that time that it took, because when you do flat fee, you kind of say, okay, this is the project. This is the amount of time it's going to take me. And it doesn't always account or make it easy for clients to add to that. You have to kind of go all the way back to the drawing board. And so the flat fee model, I think it has its time and a place, but at the beginning, starting out, that was a bit harder for us.
Okay. So you did get guidance from a mentor in the industry that helped you develop that. But as a newer designer in the industry, and I'm going to get to what you're doing now, how did you determine what the scope could look like ahead of time? Like a kitchen is X amount of hours. Did you take that guidance from them? A kitchen should be X amount of hours, or did you project based on the way you work, or what was the development of that?
Yeah. I think starting out, you're hungry to get any projects you can. So maybe the right estimates weren't, quite in place yet. But yeah, I think looking at the size of the room and then the scope that would be in the space. And then kind of, starting to break down how many hours we think it's going to take to design it, how many hours we think that the client will need to meet with us to explain the design or to place orders, but just like it's hard to get to know somebody that quickly. You don't really know. Are they going to need 4 hours to talk through the kitchen details, or are they going to need 2? And so that's where it got really tricky, was that, we were estimating out it would only take 2 hours to discuss the kitchen, but in the end, the client needed a lot more reassurance and a lot more time to discuss it. Or the opposite. You have a client that needed no time at all and got the design and was done and rushed through it and was fine with what it was going to be.
Ideal clients.
Ideal.
So that is the sticking point, right? That's the sticking point in flat rates is there's so many variables that are unknown at the head of time. And this is one of the arguments that you spoke about earlier was it's nice that clients see one fee. One fee. You're not always chasing them for money. And that's the biggest argument about doing a flat rate and not having those uncomfortable money chases on there for the flat rate. So you did the flat rate for 3 years, right? Or some variation. So that's a long time to be doing a flat rate and facing those unknown variables and maybe not making as much profit on one product or, project, or losing money on another project. At what point did you decide to change your model, and what does that look like now?
Yeah, well, a lot of that had to do with Kasey coming in and really joining me. The frustrations kind of drive a whole new process, right? So when you're starting out as a business and you have things where you're going, this just doesn't feel quite right. We don't love that it's not open book. We don't, meaning where the hours were spent and how they were spent. We had clients questioning that. So out of that frustration derives these like very late night, early morning conversations because we're married. And so we would just talk about it all the time. And it was really a question back to Kasey, like, what are we going to do and how can we do this better? So I'll let you kind of take over there, Kasey, and explain where it came from.
Yeah, so I'd like to throw this to Kasey right now and say what his thought process was about fixing it, for the lack of a better word.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I just go back to, something you said about it was hard for clients to add scope. It was equally hard in those flat fee moments when someone was definitely passing that scope to come in and say, even if you would say, well, we're only going to do so many meetings or whatever, it's really hard, especially if that client maybe hasn't purchased furniture yet, or there's more revenue to be had and you don't want to, trip over dollars to pick up pennies and that sort of thing. And so it was always a tension that we were managing. And it just, to Shelby's point, she was like, there's got to be a better way. And so we honestly just started really going out into the marketplace and looking at what other designers doing. And our mentors had mentioned Kimberly Selden and her, business of design. And we really kind of became members of that, dove into that, bought the contract, like really looked at how she was doing things. One big difference between her model and our model is she kind of acts as a general contractor and brings in all the trades and hires the trades and all that. And I actually have a custom home building and remodeling background, a couple careers ago. And we knew from the get-go that was not going to be us. We did not want to live in that world. We did not want to be responsible for that aspect of the projects. So we had to take what they did, what her program was, and we had to really adapt it to, how we were comfortable working. The other thing that gave us the ability to do that is, as we went through all this flat fee, we got a real feel for how much time things did take, and kind of establish some baselines. And Shelby was really good about, tracking that. Even if we weren't charging for it, we would still track it. That way we, when we made that transition, we already had some historical data that told us, what meetings, took the longest and what we should expect. And then we've broken it down into, the different phases of the project and put a spreadsheet to it. Wouldn't be a process without a spreadsheet. And, so now we can estimate the total cost, pretty well. And that's where we found that we were able to bridge the gap with our clients is, we don't just say, hey, we charge hourly and, give us this much to start and we'll start. We tell our clients, hey, we think that this project, the design fees is going to be X amount, $15,000, whatever it is. We say, this is how we're going to bill it. We're going to, we're going to show you where you're at twice a month, actually, every couple weeks. But they have that going into it, knowing that there may be a margin of error, but it's not going to be 50% off. It may be 5% off or 10% off, but we're going to tell them leading up to it, hey, we're trending high, and here's the reasons why, because, we're estimating, each level of the project so we can see, where did we go off of our estimates. And that gives some really good reassurance when we have to go have that money conversation. It's very clear. Well, we only factored 4 hours of revisions and, we revised that bedroom 5 times. So
because you guys are a pain in the butt.
Right. And so
you don't say that.
Right. But they can, they can read between the lines. They're smart people. So
yeah. So are you guys working on a retainer model then? Are they giving you a certain, because I was looking at your website and I did see something like that. Is that the way that you're doing it?
Yes, we collect the full retainer up front.
Okay.
So we estimate what that retainer is for the scope of work. And that was one of the other big changes that we did too, is really detailing out the scope of work. I feel like, every year things, get better and better and more and more detailed, but detailing out the scope of work, setting the retainer for that scope of work.
I see.
And then we bill against it.
I like that a lot. So it's not a flat rate per se, but it kind of has elements of that in there, and it really puts the onus on the client to manage that time and to make those quick decisions, because they can see you have that broken down. They can see this amount of minutes in a meeting, this amount of revisions, and it doesn't take a rocket scientist to say, hey, maybe if we do decide quicker, it's going to be less against the retainer. I really like that. It makes less sticky conversations for that. So just to make sure I understand, I'm fully following you. Let's say, for example, you have a living room redesign. You guys say, okay, this is going to be about $25,000. You're collecting all of that at the front. And then just as you're going, you're tracking your hours and just subtracting from that existing retainer bank. Am I right?
Right. So
Okay.
the biggest thing, is that we identify the scope with the client, write all of that out in our design agreement so that they can see exactly what's included in that design, and then the process that we have and the meetings that they'll have. And then when we collect that retainer, that should cover going through all of those design steps in our process. And so when we collect that retainer, which I will say, we collect it up front for the client's convenience. So that's so that it feels more like a flat fee, but we're not guaranteeing that that's all they'll pay. And we're also hopeful that we can write a check back to them.
That's what I was going to say.
If it goes quicker, then we're happy to say, oh yeah, put it towards furniture, or here's your check back. Now, on a really big project, because we do whole homes at a time, or we do new builds or really large remodels, we may break up that retainer into like 25% or half even increments. And so sometimes that's a collaborative conversation with the client on how long, we're going to be married or a part of this project. And, their comfort level, they're just getting to know us too, and we're getting to know them. And so it's not our desire to take the money and hold it, but more for our time to be compensated and for it to be exactly the time spent that they're paying for.
And it really is like a marriage, right? You really do enter in a relationship, especially on these longer projects, could take a year or more. What would be like your cutoff? Like $100,000? If it's $100,000 or $200,000 project, you would say, hey, let's do that in 4 quarters, or what would your cutoff be? Or is just you'd play it by ear?
Yeah, it's a little play by ear, but mostly we know whenever we get the first initial phone call or email for a new client, kind of the best way to break that up. I mean, a new build, if you're with an architect right now working on plans, we're not going to need our full retainer in order to say, hey, we want to design your home, or if they want us to design their home. And so that's a pretty easy off the top discussion to say, right now, what's needed in this part of the process is just plan revision. And so this is going to be X amount for retainer for that time. And so a lot of times, if you're looking at the full duration of a new build project, we'll break it up into the process. First, you're going to need plan review. That's X amount for the retainer. And again, we would collect that and then bill against it for that duration of time. And then we would go to the next part, which would be like construction design. So that's all your hard finishes and everything the builder needs to build the home. And then the next retainer we would collect would be for furnishings. So again, we're kind of doing that flat fee, but that's for just a certain part of the process that the client, really needs at the time.
It's kind of a hybrid.
Yeah, it is a little bit of a hybrid.
But it protects you. It really covers your right there for sure. I love that so much.
It definitely does.
You did mention, Kasey and Shelby, that you weren't contractors, right? You guys aren't general contractors. And I know that Kimberly Selden is. I've been on her podcast. She's been on mine. We're acquainted in that way. And I actually took her program. How are your clients paying the contractors or paying the construction part of that? Is that going through you? Can that legally go through you? Are you charging for that, or is that a separate thing? Okay.
I mean, it's really not a legal issue in Texas anyway, because there's not licensing requirements. But it's an insurance thing for us, right? So we've got to carry substantially more insurance if we're going to have subcontractors, and we've got to track their, liability certs, and it's just the administrative cost isn't worth it for us to do that. And ultimately, like, we want to save our clients money wherever possible. And that kind of is a good segue into the next part of our pricing model is, how we price product. I'm not sure you're ready to get into that.
I am.
When you're looking at tile or plumbing fixtures or appliances, things like that, we don't feel good about marking that up because it's very kind of commoditized, if you will. And it's very hard for designers to make a profit on that without just overcharging the client and, marking up retail. And that's just kind of not a great feeling for us. And so going back to the Kimberly Selden model, we really loved how she would split her discount. It was very simple, very clear, very win-win for the design firm and for the client, where they can't get it anywhere cheaper, and we still get to make money.
Let me just interrupt you really quick. I can hear designers out there right now clutching their pearls over this, because this is quite the, the what's the word I'm looking for? The
little controversial.
Thank you, man. I just had a menopause moment.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, but I love that. And I do kind of remember that because, and I think that personally, that's kind of a nice solution to getting shopped as well, right?
Yeah.
Which I'm getting a little ahead of myself because I know you're talking about the commodity pieces like the tiles and stuff. Although you, as a designer, you can source, curated commodity pieces, right? Still, but yeah, okay.
But then you get into on the contracting piece that you get into, well, how many square footage of tile do you need? And then now we're on the hook for material takeoffs, and if we're billing for our time, then is that really the best use of our time at $200 an hour for someone, a designer to go figure out tile square footage when a contractor will do it for free,
right?
So it really, we take the approach of what's going to be the best value for our client, even if that means we make a little bit less money or have a little, maybe fewer opportunities to make money. That's a good fit for us. And, for the designers that are charging full retail on products, like, more power to you. That's great. I mean,
yeah.
We've gone down that road, and getting shopped is one of the worst feelings for us in our business. And, not really seeing a design all the way through because they could find it for 10% less through a big retailer. We lived it, we did it, and
same.
It was not fun. So that made it an easy call for us.
You just launched your business on September the 1st.
Yes.
So tell me how the Instagram for Designers course has helped you with that, and what kind of ROI you've received from that already, because I think it's pretty big, right?
It is. Yep. And I've had really great engagement since launching my page, and I've had a ton of leads come in, and I've landed some pretty big projects for spring of 2024. And I really don't think I would be here today if I didn't take this course.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's insane.
100%.
That is incredible. How many leads are you getting from Instagram? How is, what does that look like for you on a weekly or monthly basis? 1
to 2 per week. Every single one of my leads have come from Instagram. There's so many things that I wouldn't have known to, improve my search engine optimization on Instagram.
Same. That's not fun. How I used to do it was we would charge just a little bit under retail. So they were getting like maybe 5% off, and I would still mark it up, but we did to the trade. So, which is my next question. So you're talking about tiles and things. Now I'm assuming you source trade only furnishings and things for your clients as well. We're marking that up and making a profit on that? And how are we charging for that as well?
Yeah. So because our time is fully compensated and taken care of from that retainer, and we're able to show the client how that's being spent, when it comes to the proposals for furnishings, we are splitting the discount that we get to those, to the trade only wholesale sources. So our goal is to really go after lines that we can partner with to get stocking dealer and accounts and like larger wholesale account discounts. And then what we do is we share that discount in half from the cost of what it would retail for to the cost of what we purchase it for. We split the difference, and then that's what our client saves on the furniture. So a lot of times in a furniture only situation, when you are just furnishing a living room, you will save about the same amount of money as you will pay to have us design it on furniture.
Right. And you guys are still making a markup on that. So it's not like you guys aren't
profitable. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And truly the clients, because we deal with a lot of entrepreneurs or business owners, sometimes they want to know, well, how do you make money? And it's like, it's off the product. That is very clear. But we do not have time or energy to be shopped. That's a terrible feeling. And you truly want your clients' trust. You want their trust that the room is going to look fabulous, and that we're not trying to like pull something over on them, or that they could spend hours at night Google imaging searching,
Yeah.
reverse searching the product
Yes.
to be able to find it for less. And
Yeah.
so it's just kind of was like a terrible feeling and rat race that we got into of every client, when you present a design, then has the opportunity to go find it for less. And it's just it's not the experience we wanted to create for them. We really
Mhm.
wanted them to be able to say, thank you for designing it. Thank you for being within the budget we set. Thank you for using that flat fee, hybrid retainer. We know exactly what this is going to cost. And now we can write you a check for the product. You can purchase it, receive it, and install it. And it truly feels like a full service versus them fretting over, did I just overpay for that lamp? Because I think I
Yeah.
just saw it on Wayfair, or whatever. So
I like that for a couple of reasons, is building the trust, building the relationship, building that future business. You guys are charging 200 or some odd hourly. So
Yeah.
it's not like you're not getting paid for your design time and you're making a markup on it. And getting the stocking dealer, though, getting those wholesale prices is clutch, because
yeah.
if you've been to High Point as an interior designer, you get the designer prices, you see the difference. It's not small. Right. So how are you doing that? Do you guys have a storefront? Are you involved with a group? Or are you just savvy?
We are savvy. Yeah. We don't like being told no. We like to partner with the brands that will see us for what we are. We want wholesale accounts. We want buying power, and we're not in it to compete with the online sector of the world. And so a lot of these accounts, when we first started, were much easier to come by. I feel like it is getting a little bit trickier because a lot are going to the retail side, but we do a lot of whole homes at a time. So we do have a lot of buying power, place really big orders, and then just getting to know the reps, really, again, that relationship piece is huge for Kasey and I. We want those relationships to be, work both ways. We love the brands that we carry. A lot of them we've had for a really long time. And quite frankly, too, there's some brands we just have to use and we love so much that we don't get a great discount on, but we still split it with the client. We still share it, and we tell them, well, we don't get as good a discount on that light, but we have to have it.
It'll look great in the magazine.
We know it'll look great. So, and they're understanding of that too. But as a whole, just the root of who Daley Home is, who Kasey and I are, it's the relational side. It's an open, trustworthy business model, and that's just the people that we are, and so that's what we want the business to reflect.
I think it's smart, honestly. And I can hear the pearl clutching, like I said, but I do think it's smart in this economy, in this day and age, and in this day and age of the internet and everything being right at your fingertips. And we don't want to race to the bottom, but you're not doing that at all. You're providing a value, you're providing to the trade furnishings at a good value, a good cost. Something's going to last forever. You're still making your markup and charging for your design services. I think it's smart relationship building and smart business.
I would make the argument, as you mentioned, to the trade lines, those are so truly to the trade lines are so few and far between these days with e-commerce.
It's getting less and less.
I mean, you have, Meadow Blue and House and, all these that the majority of our lines, even though we've, they're kind of branded as to the trade, you're not going to walk into a showroom and find them in most places. You can find them online, and then couple that with the reverse image search. It's like you're really not able to find a whole lot of product that is completely white labeled that they can't find somewhere else.
Unless you're designing your own right now at this point, right?
Designing your own, or when you're doing your custom upholstery pieces, for sure. Because you're putting, select material on it and everything
proprietary
else.
Designs.
Right. I just think it makes a stronger argument for being competitive, especially if the designer's listening and they're struggling with, any of that getting shopped, because,
they all are. I'm telling you right now, I see it every day. Yeah. Okay. So you guys are established. You're doing a certain X amount of dollars, and you're able to get these stocking dealers, building these relationship with vendors. What about newer designers that are starting out? I still see designers who are sourcing from Wayfair and Williams-Sonoma, for their projects. What would your recommendation be for to charge for furnishings and, or to get into this level that you have? to grow, to build these relationships and get the discounts you do?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. And I mean,
A hard
for
one.
us, it is a hard one because for us, we basically sought after a couple brands, a couple lines that we knew we really wanted to have. And then what we did was we just, even if it meant furnishing our own home or our office space, whatever we had to do, we went after a few lines and we went after them all in. And so if it meant that there was a $15,000 minimum for an order, then that's what we were going to try to get to. And then we would either just hold those products until they would sell, or we'd put them in our own home. I mean, at the beginning, I think you just have to be really savvy with it. And also
That is smart. Yeah.
just have the drive to not like settle, Wayfair and things like that. I think that they have their time in their place. Certainly when I started, that's where we were, but there is so much profit to be made on the wholesale and to the trade side of furnishings, and the quality truly cannot be beat. And I think if you are really designing homes to last and to be durable, you have to drift into that market. The quality and everything that you can get these products, from High Point or to the trade, that this is really where, you want to be designing
that is
for these
100%.
homes to last. Yeah.
That made a huge difference for me in my interior design firm. Because when I started, I did the same thing, like Wayfair, Williams-Sonoma, Pottery Barns, all these places. And then I went to High Point, started educating myself and my designs were elevated. My clients were elevated. I highly, highly recommend doing that. And I think I forgot to ask you, I think you mentioned, Kasey, that you guys break it up into sections, but then when you charge for the furnishings, is that like a all at once kind of check, or that's not a retainer as well, is it? Because you kind of already know what that's going to look like, right?
No. So when we do the design presentation, we also present them with a proposal that has everything that they're seeing as far as soft furnishings go, everything in that proposal. So whether it's big project, small project, doesn't matter. We're doing it the same every single time. And they walk away with, okay, if I liked everything I saw in that, presentation, then I can purchase it all for this amount of money. And that's shipping, install, delivery costs, for storage fees, the whole gamut, minus a few installation costs that are third party, like window treatments and that sort of thing. But those are small in comparison to the overall total. So we do collect all of that up front, though, which we've honestly only, I think, once had to walk away from a project because we designed it. They signed our contract where it very clearly says this is how we collect payment for products, collect it all up front because we got to start paying for it and we can't return any of it. And and they said, we're just really not comfortable with that. And we said, we're really not comfortable not doing that. So we'll just have to agree to disagree. And, but, that's where having a really strong, contract in place and process, whereas we felt really good that we didn't surprise them with that. That wasn't,
sure,
new information, but it was a really clear boundary. And it was a big project too. It hurt, but we felt still good about it.
That's the by Felicia clause. Are you guys also, is there a section where you're charging on retainer for styling, or, at the end on install day? Are you leaving a certain percentage for accessories and style?
Yes. Yeah, we do. Okay. We all go as a team to do the install, and that's part of that last push of retainer. And we charge all the time. When we do the install, we bring accessories and we place them, and then they pay for what they want to keep. So they kind of have the ability to live with it for 24, 48 hours, and then we'll pick back up what they don't want. Unless you're out of state, or out of our area, then we do it a little bit different. But most projects, they just, the styling, it's definitely the part that matters the most to some people. I mean, the sofa's pretty, but what goes on the coffee table, right? That can be like sometimes the hardest part. And so that retainer covers that time for our team to come and style your home or style the areas we designed. And then we're tracking all our time. And I was going to mention too, when we do that design presentation meeting and we show them all the pretty things, the other beautiful part of a retainer and tracking your time is at the end of that meeting, if they're on the fence about something or they're not sure about a fabric or a piece of art, because we're tracking our time, again, it's not flat fee, they're able to revise as many times as they want, and it's up to us to understand why they're asking for these revisions, how we can do better as a design team. But again, that's where that not resenting them part comes in. You truly, you want to like these people that are hiring you, and you don't want to resent them for, I don't have any more time in my process and how I've built to work with these revisions. So we welcome revisions. We're like happy to have them, happy to make sure it's a good fit. Because, we are tracking that time, but we're also human. Like we also know that we're not going to nail it 100% of the time. Now, if they're quick decision makers, like you said, then they might get some money back in the end.
They might get a check back.
So, that's right.
Exactly.
That's right.
I love it. Guys, thank you so much for being so transparent on how, I could talk to you about this, the money forever. I love it. And it's kind of similar to how I ended up pricing with my firm. But I think it's super smart and it's working for you guys. And now everybody's different. Your mileage may vary, but I hope you've gotten some actionable takeaways. So guys, I have to ask you if you're ready now for the What Up Wingnut round.
We're ready.
All right. We're going to do this. We're going to do this in fast fashion. So, Shelby, you answer first and then Kasey, you answer second, and we'll just knock them out. Ready?
Okay. Ready.
All right. What would the hashtag on your tombstone be?
Mine is so lame. It would probably just be mom.
Aw, that's not lame.
Mom of 3. My first job, my most important job.
Oh, sweet.
We go. Little things or big things.
That's your hashtag. Little things or big things.
Little things are big things.
Are big things, yeah. Right. And okay, matter. I love that. Second, you're stuck on a deserted island, but you can have your favorite food forever. What is it?
I'm hoping mine works. It would be a smoothie, which technically is multiple foods blended together. But if I could just have a smoothie, I could survive.
That's savvy. That's clever.
All steak for me.
Yeah. Steak, and if we could have another one, some scotch.
Yeah, there you go. I'll take it.
Last but not least, please recommend a book that's impacted you on a personal or professional level.
Yeah, I love The Road Back to You. I'm a big Enneagram fan. We actually hire thinking of the Enneagram. I think it's really important. And so that would be my choice. And
I'll go with The Advantage by Patrick Lencioni. It's just business book, but it talks about how having a healthy organization is a clear competitive advantage. So
I love it. Shelby and Kasey Van Daley, you guys have been wonderful. I think that your transparency and everything, I'm sure the audience has learned a lot. Where can we go to find out more about you guys and Daley Home?
Yeah. So our website is daily-home.com. And then we are on Instagram quite a bit, like everybody else, but we use that as our portfolio. I'd love to hop on there, talk about our family more, our process more, and our team, of course. And so that's Daley Home, and it's DALEY Home on Instagram.
Shelby and Kasey Van Daley, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Okay, well, I hope all of your jewelry survived this episode, right? So I love their approach. I love their transparency. They are certainly a successful interior design firm, and the way that they're doing it works for them. I hope that you received some inspiration, some ideas, maybe a little bit of a reverse engineering soul search on how you're charging for your projects. And maybe you will implement a thing or two to try here. And if you haven't checked out Kimberly Selden, right, I highly do recommend you go over to her Business of Design and check out that program, because everybody that's taking it pretty much loves it. And you don't have to do everything, like it's the Bible, like you're going to go to hell if you don't do one step. Like Kasey and Shelby adjusted a little bit because they're not general contractors. And that is one thing I forgot to ask them. It was if they considered being that. But judging by the conversation and the way that was going, it sounds like that's a lot of headache they don't want to deal with. But you can go over there, go message them on Instagram and ask them yourself at Daley Home, DALEY Home, or hit them up on the website at daily-home.com and check out their work, which is really beautiful, by the way. And if you're in Texas, go by and ask them that question. Say, hey, Darla wanted to know, but she forgot to ask you. All right, guys, that is it for this week. Remember, Wingnut Social. Wingnut Social is an agency, a digital marketing agency for home pros, interior designers, architects, to the trade home furnishings, manufacturers. We do full service white glove social media marketing the right way, not just throwing pictures up and saying, okay, it's done, but with some real ROI juice baked in behind it, whatever that looks like for you and your firm. Search engine optimization, Google ads, paid ads, blogging, content-driven SEO, you name it. We pretty much do it. The only thing we don't do is website design, but Gloria and Brand does terrific website design. Nicole Heimer, my good friend, at gloriaandbrand.com. We do everything else. Wingnutsocial.com. Hit that little work with Wingnut button and let's see how we can work together. Our brand new sales manager, Christina Croft, will be there with bells on, waiting to speak with you and learn about your needs and how we can fill them. All right, guys, that's it for this week. Remember, until next time, to get out there, get uncomfortable, and be great. All right, enough tiptoeing around. Let's get into the. All right, today's guests are Shelby and Kasey Van Daley of at. Hold on, let me get my mind right. Let me channel the universe. All right, you before.